In the courtroom, a former Tyler ISD teacher pleads guilty to a charge of sexual assault of a child. 29-year-old Andre Jefferson was arrested in February, accused of having sex with a student while he was the in-school suspension teacher at Three Lakes Middle School. The victim told authorities the incidents happened at an apartment complex. Jefferson pleaded guilty to 1 count of sexual assault of a child and 1 count of improper relationship with a student. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison for each charge, with both sentences running concurrently.